8 years ago, I moved into my van with one goal, just so that you know what's going on in my little pea brain. Now, this may be news to some of you, although probably if you're a YouTube channel member or a Patreon supporter, you may know my thoughts about this already. Talk a little more openly about that over there. And I don't really talk so openly about this kind of thing here, just to let you know. But I've been having a little bit of a rough time the last few years because I kind of lost my home base. A few years back, I had what felt like a real good home base in Southern California, and I lost that suddenly. And that kind of left me without feeling like I had a real home. And that may seem like a funny thing to say because I am a nomad, I don't mean for it to sound like a bad thing. I have worked very hard to try to feel at home no matter where I am. And that was something I worked very, very hard at when I first started to live out of this van. I wanted to be comfortable, not just in the mountains and in the deserts, but I wanted to be comfortable just in any city that I wound up in. And I knew that that was going to be important because back then I was stuck down in the desert where it was really hot. It was very difficult to live out of a van, being that I didn't have air conditioning. But also I was working a job that was a classic hostile work environment. And I worked there for a little over a year after I built out my van and put my time in. I tried to save as much money as I could, and the van gave me a way to get out of that bad situation. Not only a bad situation with living in a really hot area, those 120-degree work days outside were not fun, and then having to deal with such a hostile just workplace was just not fun either. And the van gave me a way to get out of that, and I am forever grateful. There's not a week that goes by that I don't think about that, and I don't think about how lucky I am to be able to get out of that situation. But I left my home base behind. I've lived in one place for most of my life, and it was the only place that really felt like home for all those years. And that was tough to try to figure out how to feel at home wherever I happen to be. And it's not an easy thing to just feel at home in a place. If you don't know, I worked for 4 years in Seattle, in the Seattle area. And even with all of that time that I spent around Seattle, Seattle has never felt like home to me. Now it does feel familiar when I go back there. I do spend quite a bit of time in the Seattle area, Washington State. Even now, after I left that job that I was at for 4 years, I still enjoy it, and it's still very familiar to me, but it doesn't feel like home when I'm there. But the one place that I have felt kind of like at home is here in Humboldt County. So whenever I'm feeling that kind of disconnected feeling, I do try to get back here because it's one of the places, one of the very few places that I can kind of just settle in and just relax. And part of that is that it's just easy here. It's easy to find a parking space at night, and it's easy for me to get groceries, and it's easy for me to find places to hang out and just spend the day. So all of those things just make it really easy. And then when I am out and about and talking to people, everybody's just super friendly here. And so it's just a nice place to be, and it's a place that I kind of can feel at home in, even though this really isn't my home. And it's something I've been kind of struggling with ever since I kind of lost my home base down in Southern California. And I have been very adamant for the last year and a half. I guess this is news to a lot of people, but for the last year and a half, I've been very adamant that I do not ever want to return to Southern California. And the reasoning there is that it's just more difficult. Finding a parking spot at night is just not as easy as it is up here. And I know this may seem different from what you've been told, but so many people have been moving into Southern California that it's just been harder and harder and harder for me to find a place to park at night. And it's just been getting to be more and more expensive there in Southern California. And so it's just not a place that I feel like putting up with anymore. I moved into my van now 8 years ago. I moved into my van with one goal, and that was to make life easier. I wanted to have a slower pace of life, and I wanted things to be a little bit easier. And the van has definitely done that for me. Everything about van life has gotten me to that point. Life is definitely easier for me now, and life is definitely better for me now in the van. I know that may seem hard to believe, but it's true. Everything about van life has been so much easier for me. But the place that I'm in definitely makes or breaks that. It's much harder for things to flow well when I'm in Southern California. And it's much easier for things to flow well up here in the Pacific Northwest, and specifically Humboldt County here. It's just a really special place. So when I'm feeling a little bit off, and when I'm feeling like I just need to ground a little bit, this is the place that I come back to time and time again. I don't see that changing ever. And even though for 40 some years I didn't ever see myself ever leaving Southern California, you know, things change, but hopefully this will continue to be that nice place that I can just come back to and get a little bit of grounding, a little bit of sense of home, because this really is a very special place to be. So I'm happy to be back here. I don't know how much longer I'll be here, but I've been here for a few days and I am enjoying it immensely. I don't know if you can tell, but I am enjoying it immensely. So I just thought I would say that, just so that you know what's going on in my little pea brain. I just thought I would say it to anybody that has managed to make it this far along in this video. This is probably going to be a long one. Anyway, I think I'm going to end this here. Enjoy my coffee and go to bed early. Maybe I can get back on my proper sleep schedule and actually get up in the morning. The weather here has just been so great. I've been wanting to get up in the morning, but I keep going to sleep at 1 or 2 in the morning, and then it makes it kind of difficult for me to get out of bed, you know, before 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, or, you know, 10 or so. Let's just leave it at that. I'm gonna sign off. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it.